Hello everyone, today we have a Sauron Shuri build, and ever since Shuri got changed to where you have to play your follow-up card in that same lane, she's dropped off quite substantially. Now, she can still point slam like nobody's business, but it's a lot more telegraphed, and so you start seeing things like Shang-Chi really take precedent and be able to control that lane and just your overall board power. But what if you're slamming points onto the board throughout the course of the game, maybe 4, 5, and 6, and you have it spread across all different lanes? How can they pick one target for their Shang-Chi? That's the aim with Sauron Shuri. Sauron removes those negative downside effects from your cards so that you can just slam some really insane amounts of value on the board. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can build this. Today, I'm going to be building it just a very straightforward, no movement components, nothing extra to take into consideration other than your just raw point slam value. Ideally, you're going to be able to do something like an armor on 2, a Sauron in a different lane on 3. On 4, Shuri is one of the best plays. I typically do it in the armor lane just to make sure that it is protected. Then you can follow up with whatever card you have, whether it be your Typhoid Mary, your Red Skull. Sometimes you're even going to skip to let your She-Hulk get reduced, so you can play She-Hulk plus Taskmaster, or even like She-Hulk plus Typhoid Mary plus Ebony Maw on the last turn to give a really big explosive last turn play. On the surface level, this is very linear, very straightforward, and for the most part, it is very easy to navigate. But it is a little bit more difficult to master now that it's not just wide open. It's not as easy to just play wherever you want to and be able to slam those points onto the board. You have to do a little telegraphed play with your Shuri, but that doesn't mean that she is not incredibly potent. And so overall, I've had a really good success with this list. I wanted to share it with you guys because all that I'm seeing on the ladder right now is that Stature Shuri deck or the Thor deck that I shared the other day. And so I wanted to give you guys a couple of alternatives. If you want to see the coverage for either one of those videos, I will leave a link in the description. Wait until this one's over, but follow through and go check those out afterwards. Overall, we're gonna go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, first up we have DJ Big Russ. The first location is Lemuria, which is okay. We don't have any cards that we're going to play this turn anyways. We have 3 in our deck, 2 that we would typically sometimes play, 1 that we would almost always. Our Sunspot we would almost always play. 0 only if we have a good follow-up, so like a Lizard or something that we want to cancel out that ongoing ability for. And then Ebony Maw, almost never are we going to play that on, actually never are we going to play that on turn 1. Like 99.999. The only time we might play it is if there was the location that takes away ongoing abilities, then we might. That's it. So Monster Island is in mid. We don't have Shang-Chi in this list, unfortunately. Maybe we can entice them into wasting their Shang-Chi. No, this is a discard Nebula list. So the video that I covered, the discard Nebula list a couple of days ago, seems to be catching on. I've seen it a lot. I've seen it an awful lot here recently. Maybe that's a good thing. We're going to go Sauron into the Nebula lane. We do have our Typhoid Mary that we can use on 4. We have the Taskmaster we can use on 5. And they Storm here. So we could do... So they're going to follow that up with what? A Dracula? And Dracula is going to absorb into probably about 16 power if they have their Apocalypse. And if so, then I think we can win these other 2 lanes in the process. So knowing that this is a discard list, knowing that they typically don't have counter cards, we're just going to abandon the flooded lane. We're going to give them that one. Knowing that we have the big payoff of being able to do Shuri into like a Typhoid Mary on 5, into a Taskmaster on 6, I don't think they're going to be able to compete with that much power. So because of that, we're going to go ahead and snap. I told you guys I was going to play it a little bit more aggressively how I normally would on the ladder. And looking at this, I'm going to snap. Dream Dimension is really tough for a discard deck. MODOK becomes very, very clunky. You can drop MODOK on turn 6, but it's just a little bit less advantageous. Ooh, so they're running the version of the discard list that does not lean all the way in to MODOK. It has Hellcow as that consistency driver. So we did end up giving that one away, but it's fine. Let's go ahead and go with the 20 power Typhoid Mary. Now, if they've also augmented in a Shang-Chi, then we're going to lose this one because we're making the assumption that they're not going to have it. So we're going to double up on our Typhoid Mary, and then on the last turn we can do Taskmaster, and that should give us a substantial amount of power. Had we skipped, we could have actually done the She-Hulk and the other card, but that's okay. I don't know. This becomes kind of close, depending on how much they can discard, what they can throw on the board. And I don't know. If they stay, I think we lose. But I think they retreat. Ooh, they stayed. Okay, the MODOK. The MODOK should be fine, right? It discards their Apocalypse. It does boost their Morbius a good amount. Now, the 20 power from the Taskmaster is just, it's too hard to overcome. So we are able to hold it down for the 4 cubes. Let's go ahead and take it. What a way to start the video. We're going to go ahead and take it and jump over into the next one. All right, so last game we completely tied with DK FFIV. They're running a discard list. Discard is really cropping up. It's a solid point slam deck. It's good, just good value, good wholesome value. We're gonna go ahead and skip here. The urge is to play Lizard, but I would rather play it after Sauron. So we're gonna skip Soak. We do have Sunspot on the board, thankfully, so we can skip Soak. Ooh, Sauron is gonna pull over into Asteroid M, which should be fine. We're going to take away the Typhoid Mary's negative ability, the Lizard's negative ability, and when we draw into Ebony Maw, that negative ability. So we just tied. We didn't lose. We tied a TVA game versus DK. They were running a discard list. They got a Calling Wing, which discarded the Swarm, so that's 2 games in a row they were able to do that. And then they had a Hellcow, which pushed so much power on turn 6, or on turn 4. Let's go with this. I kind of want to see if maybe we can fill this location. No, we're not going to worry about it. We're just going to go raw power. We're going to go raw power. We're going to go Typhoid Mary in the right lane. We're going to give up the raft, or at least filling up the raft anyways. So they discard their Swarm again. Oh my gosh. They're going to have a flood of things that they can do. Had we played here last turn, we could have filled it up. They're going to get a free 6 cost resource. Scary. Let's go Red Skull. We know that they likely don't have any kind of counter cards, so it just comes down to raw value. So we know that they're going to put a very specific amount of power. Maybe they have a 3 or 4 cost card and it gets pulled out. No, they do all of their Swarms there. Okay, so they could have done a Dracula and it would have gotten pulled over here and they wouldn't have had to worry about it. But 14 power here, depending on what free resource they got, could be worth it, might not be worth it, who knows. This is 7, this is 12, 13, and then we get a little bit extra soak in the left lane. We have to keep the lead here to be able to win off of this. We're confident enough, we're gonna give it a shot. We have to get back to even. We lost the last game versus DK. And they had a lot of the same cards in their hand, which is incredible, incredible chances. Now, they probably have the Chavez for a consistency driver. They haven't discarded an Apocalypse. They haven't really discarded much other than the Calling Wing, or other than the Swarms. So it comes down to the free raft resource and what and where they can play. They do play 1 card in the left lane. I wonder how big of a resource it is. So let's go, let's see. Our armor comes down. Okay, Swordmaster does get rid of America Chavez. Moon Knight gets rid of their Apocalypse. Okay, so their right lane is huge. And then Null. The free resource was Null, which is going to be Null and Void. Oh my gosh. Okay. They made sure they won the right lane. They weren't quite able to swing the left lane. Had this been something really impactful, maybe. But we'll take it. We'll go ahead and take the 2 cubes. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Lights Out Ace. The first location is the Super Flow. So the extra energy is going to be good for us in the long run, especially with like a She-Hulk. We're going to go ahead and skip here. We have Sauron that we'll play on 2. They're running the probably the most common deck right now. The Stature, Hawk, just value deck that is a very consistent one. It doesn't have as much high roll typically, but it's very, very consistent. Let's go with our Sauron. They're going to know exactly what we're running after the Sauron comes down. But we are going to go Sauron. We have Enchantress, so if they play any of their cards out early, so if they play their Hawk out early, we can counter that card. We're not going to be able to stop them from doing we're not going to be able to stop them from forcing us to discard some of our resources or one of our resources with their Black Bolt. So I think we're just going to hold, because of that, we're going to hold the 0. Let's go ahead and do Sunspot and Soak. They do use Rock Slide, so they're amping up for their Hawk. Or just the Disruption if they don't have Hawk already. Let's see. Rogue, and then Captain America. Not bad. We will take that. We will take that trade any day. Superflow comes down. We can do and then Limbo. Wild. This game is wild. We know that the list that they're running will typically run a Shang-Chi. So maybe we can bait out the Shang-Chi here, and then we can flood the rest of the locations fairly easily. Or maybe we just kind of skip and wait. Yes, we still have Shuri in our deck. We're going to play the Red Skull. Skipping and soaking with... Okay, and so they do use the Black Bolt, which discards our 0. We saw that one coming. I'm glad it didn't hit Ebony Maw. I would have been much more sad had it hit Ebony Maw. Guess we go ahead and do... Taskmaster. We can do Taskmaster. We can do Ebony Maw. Next turn we can skip and soak. And I think we should be okay. So looking at the cards they probably have Stature that's coming down soon. They probably have Hawk, which is fine. We have high power plays to play into the other locations still. And so I don't think we have to worry about it. They snapped, but I think we're okay. The Enchantress to take away the Captain America is a good, like it's 6 power. Like that's solid play. It's still not fantastic. We can continue to spread our power. We can do Typhoid Mary to the right. That will allow us to do... Oh no. I guess we skip and soak here. We skip and soak. We have the decision between either Typhoid Mary or Enchantress alongside our She-Hulk next turn. And so we'll see. This will help our Sunspot out quite a bit. They do play their Hawk out, which is... we've been waiting for that. We've been waiting for them to just flop... I can't do it. We've been waiting for them to play their Hawk. This is Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Oh, okay. I don't think we snap back. I think snapping back is a little bit hasty. They probably have a Shang-Chi. They use Shang-Chi in this lane. 7, 8, 9, 10. They win this one by 1. And then they use their Stature here, bringing them to 19. We go to 21, so we're okay with that. If that's the order they play them in. We should be fine. Their biggest card or threat is Hawk, and once that's on the board, we have a very specific amount of information. Knowing the very common deck that this is, I think we should be okay. Depending on what this is, Stature, we can beat the Stature after taking out the Hawk, and so we do win mid and right. They win left by 1, but it was a calculated, knowledgeable leverage of that enticing high power play. And by being able to just do high value over 9 power plays every single game, every single turn, we're able to make Shang-Chi a little bit less impactful. Yes, they can swing one location, but they still have to overcome just the massive amounts of power that we have in the others. So we will take the 4 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over to the next one. All right, next up we have Vegito. The first location is Pet Mansion. So if we want to play, we have to play there, but not having a follow-up to the 0, I'm going to pass. We're going to go ahead and pass. We're going to play it safe just in case we draw into Sauron, maybe Shuri. We don't want to have to zero out that next card, just in case we don't draw into a low-cost card. So we have the armor now. Let's see. Content Embassy helps them just a touch more than it helps us, just because they had the extra card. Let's go Sunspot and 0. That will allow us to next turn do something like Typhoid Mary. But it could backfire if we end up drawing a Shuri. Shuri would be just about the only other card that we would prioritize next turn. Oof. Okay. So the Electro's tough. The Electro's real tough here. Because if they're running Galactus, which I've seen a huge... I know that statistically it says that Galactus makes up 10% of the games. I see it so infrequently. Now, if this is Galactus, we cut tail and run. Electro into Green Goblin does support a Galactus, but still kind of wild. We can skip and then Red Skull plus She-Hulk. Let's go ahead and do Red Skull now. No. Let's go ahead and Red Skull now. Them playing Green Goblin into the Pet Mansion tells me that maybe they're not going to go Galactus here. Okay, so Mr. Spider-Man should be okay. We don't have a way to impact that lane any further, but they're going to have to invest resources there if they want to win that one. Doing just a Doctor Doom would not do it. So we do force the retreat. Just high value plays. Even if we're not the one at the steering wheel, we're not really driving the game. We're just doing high value plays every single game, similar to what a good card list wants to do, to be able to maintain an initiative and maintain a lead. We'll go ahead and take the 1 cube. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Refined Tiger. First location is the Nexus. So getting the lead there is going to be really, really beneficial for us. Go ahead and play Sunspot. We'll start kind of soaking, getting a feel for what kind of deck Refined is running. Now, Isle of Silence is pretty good for like Typhoid Mary, Ebony Maw, if we didn't draw our Sauron, but we do. We're going to go ahead and skip. We'll play Sauron next as we continue to kind of get a gauge on what kind of deck the opponent's running. So the Angela tells me it's probably like a Beast Bounce, a Hawk deck, or just a Sarah counter deck. So we could expect a Killmonger here at some point, potentially. Let's go Sauron into the Isle of Silence. I don't necessarily feel like we need to crowd the Nexus, just because we typically will have high impact plays. And by having a deck that does all of these really strong, really powerful things, you would think that the Nexus would be a big benefit. Not necessarily, not always. The reason I say that is it's easy for them to target a Shang-Chi. It's easy for them to target something to prohibit the Nexus from being in our favor, versus if we can just play a 10 power, a 12 power, a 10 power, it's hard for them to pick off every single one of those. It doesn't like pigeonhole it into one location. So I don't know what kind of deck Refined is running. It has the Collector, the newly buffed Collector. I continue to say the newly buffed Collector. It has Angela, Rocket, Ironheart, super strange cards. We are going to play the Typhoid Mary, which will be 20 power. If we need to, we can do Taskmaster. I kind of hope they either drop a Shang-Chi or something this turn in the Nexus, or just something where they maintain initiative. That way we can drop our Taskmaster as a follow-up and not necessarily have to worry. All right, so the Bishop and Iceman come down. So instead of being able to do, that does give us initiative. They could do, oh man, we don't have our armor, unfortunately. They don't have a Shang-Chi, unfortunately. We will take the 1 cube retreat. All right, next up we have Refined Tiger. And we actually just went against Refined Tiger. It wasn't necessarily exciting. They have an immediate chance for revenge. Now, I'm going to prioritize armor, probably into Stark Tower. Wait, they do a Hawkeye? They're running a super strange deck. I have no idea what kind of deck they're running, other than it being super strange. So we're going to do the armor into Stark Tower. That will allow us to do a Shuri into Red Skull into Taskmaster and not have to worry about a Shang-Chi. And so I honestly think we're okay here. They're running a bounce deck. A bounce deck with Hawkeye, though, is wild. So maybe they're going to have like Human Torch and a few other cards as well, but I don't think they're going to win off of that. Let's go with the Shuri play. We're going to get the 14 power Red Skull. We'll copy the 14 power with our Taskmaster in another lane, and then you have 0 to kind of finish it off. All right, so the Iceman comes down. It does hit our Taskmaster, but they've spent the most of the game just bouncing their cards. So they have Rocket Raccoon again that they could use again, but it hasn't been able to be buffed up at all. So they'll have Iceman one more time, but our priority is going to be our Taskmaster, and so it won't matter. The Iceman's not going to hit anything that's going to affect anything at this point. Now that it's already hit Taskmaster, it doesn't matter. So we do have the 24 power, I said 14 power. We have the 24 power, which is going to get buffed up to 26 power Red Skull. Then we're just going to copy it with Taskmaster and go on about our business. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine after that. Now, if they have an arrow, very unfortunate. But otherwise, I think we're okay. I don't see this deck running an arrow. Like, arrow would be so specific. I just don't see them having it. We have initiative. I mean, we could just do our Taskmaster over here. That would be a very specific Shang-Chi read for them to hit over here. Let's go ahead and play it over into the left. Maybe they have an arrow and they think they're going to beat us in Fiskauer by yanking our card out, but we have the advantage. We're going to hope that they stay. I'm not going to snap because we have such a commanding amount of power on the board. And if we snap, then they're going to leave for sure. All right, so they do quite a few cards. A Shadow King would be wild in to reset Red Skull back to 12. Would be wild. Now they get very, very close to winning Stark Tower, but not quite. Wow, that was a lot closer than what I thought it was going to be. My goodness, that was a pretty explosive last turn with the Hit Monkey. Had they been able to bounce that any time beforehand or anything, like Angela got any bigger, wow. I didn't think they were going to get anywhere close to the 33, to the 35. I'm glad that we were able to hold it down, and we'll take the 2 cubes, and that is where we're going to go ahead and end the video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a like and a comment down below. What decks are you running? Is there anything that you want me to check out and brew with? For every deck that I showcase, I probably brew and test out and discard about 4 or 5 other versions. And so if you guys have anything you want me to check out, let me know in the comment section down below. As always, this has been TLSG. Thank you guys for being here. Later, guys.